Hello and welcome to City Beat. I'm your host Craig from the Lewiston City Library. Joining me today is Riley Stark from the City of Lewiston Urban Forestry Program. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on the show.
I gotta say before we get started, I love the intro music. It's gorgeous. Never change it.
Okay, I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
The ears here. So, urban forestry, what exactly is that?
So urban forestry is, in a nutshell, it's the effective management of urban trees. And any city that's done a reasonably good job of planting trees over its history can effectively be considered a forest in its own right. So it's my job as the urban forester to promote trees in our community and to make people aware of the benefits of trees and also to care for trees on city property. And I use those trees as somewhat of an example for the community for what good tree care looks like. So that essentially is what urban forestry is, and part of what I do. I'll, of course, expand on that a little bit later. So I enjoy my job. I've been with the city for almost a year and a half now, and it's a great place to work. It's a beautiful valley. It's a really mild climate here, so we can plant more trees here than you'd be able to get away with elsewhere in Idaho because of our mild winters. So that's one part that I really enjoy about working here in the valley.
Oh, it does create some nice diversity in the landscape with the ability to plant the different trees.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the summer climate here is warm, as we all know, and that's kind of challenging when it comes to planting trees and making them survive that long summer drought. They tend to get pretty tired come August, September, and that's kind of an uphill battle. But this time of year, it's great. I mean, it's warmer here than it is anywhere else, and you can see that in our city right now. Springtime is a great time to go out and look at the dogwoods, look at the flowering fruit trees, and it's just a great time to be here. It's very green out, and I love it.
That's right. So how is it that you developed an interest in urban forestry? Like, how does one become an urban forester, and how did you end up here in the city?
So I grew up in Eugene, Oregon, which has a climate that's even more mild than it is here. And in Eugene, you can grow just a staggering diversity of trees. It's really fantastic. The city is just lousy with trees of all different species. So in growing up there, I was really inspired by the diversity that I saw. And I took it upon myself to learn as much as I could about the diversity of tree life in my city. From there, I went to University of Montana, where I got my degree in forestry. The idea originally was to go in and learn production forestry, so I could be out in the woods, but that didn't really interest me. So I focused primarily in conservation and recreation management, and that served me well. I also really enjoyed tree biology and wood science, dendrology, things of this nature that aren't necessarily as directly applicable to production forestry, but really come in handy quite a bit when I am talking about urban trees. From there, I went to the University of Idaho, where I got my master's degree in natural resources from the College of Natural Resources in Moscow. And that was a really excellent experience. I focused a lot on wilderness management and also restoration ecology. So I worked quite a bit in the field of wilderness management, and that was great, but it really wasn't getting me very far in my career, and I wanted to focus a lot more on people and bringing the benefits of trees to a community such as Lewiston. And it was wilderness that initially drew me to Idaho, but urban forestry has become my field, and I really like that. I think it's worked out well.
Well, that's great. It sounds like a lot of fun. And living here in Idaho, we do have plenty of access to wilderness when you're not in the urban setting, so that's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed that part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place to live. I love the high quality of life here and the low cost of living and the open spaces. It's really an excellent place to live.
So can you kind of describe what constitutes your program? How does it work?
So my program is twofold. First and foremost, I am a parks technician with an emphasis in urban forestry. So whatever needs doing in the parks, that's number one. So if my supervisor tells me to do routine maintenance on any given park, that's what I have to go do. and that's fine. I enjoy that aspect of it. The tree work is really what I enjoy doing the most. I'm a very hands-on person, so I like to do the tree work. I'm actually covered in sawdust right now. I was doing a little tree work earlier over in the cemetery. So that's most of what occupies my job. But the second and arguably the more important aspect of my program is public outreach, and that's working with committees. That's working to promote education of proper tree care practices and the benefits of trees in our community. So that occupies a lot of my time as well. And that's another aspect of the job that I find very rewarding. It's not as straightforward as working with trees. You know, working with people is far more complicated, as I'm sure everybody would agree with. So those are the two major aspects of my program, and I enjoy them equally. But yeah, most of the time I do just kind of like to be out in the parks on a sunny day. That's what I like most. But you know, nothing compares to changing people's opinions and educating individuals and people in the community about the benefits of trees and how to care for them.
Oh, that's great. So what are some recent developments in the City of Lewiston's urban forestry program?
Yeah, so in the last year and a half, I've been able to do a number of things for the community and for our urban forestry program. Most recently, Lewiston was awarded a growth award from the Arbor Day Foundation, which is the primary administrator of the Tree City USA program. So this is Lewiston's 27th year as Tree City USA. We've held the title the third longest of any city in Idaho, and we also have the most growth awards of any city in Idaho, which I think is a big point of pride for the community.
Absolutely.
It shows that every year we expand our program and we make urban forestry more of a visible component of not only city government but community-wide activities. So that happened recently. I also was awarded a scholarship from the Idaho Department of Lands to attend the Municipal Forestry Institute in Silverton, Oregon, where I spent a week in an intensive training all about working with people and bringing the benefits of trees to the community. And I think that's going to give me the tools I need to expand my program and bring the benefits of our urban forest to the forefront of public discussion and public consciousness. So those are two big things. Of course, this being April, Arbor Day is next week. So we've got our typical Arbor Day celebration planned, in addition to a number of other things, which we can talk more about later. I've also been able to plant more than almost 300 trees in the cities in the last year and a half.
Oh, wow.
All throughout our parks and gardens and along city streets, kind of all over the place. And every time I drive around town and I see each one that I planted, you know, it makes me feel good about you know, making the city a more beautiful place.
Well, and you mentioned kind of the Arbor Day celebration. So what events can the community look forward to?
So this afternoon actually is the Earth Day celebration downtown. So I'll be manning a booth and just giving away trees for one, and getting in touch with people and kind of making them aware of the urban forestry program and what my program can do for them, and also promoting the benefits of trees and giving people reasons to plant trees, so that we kind of think about trees as really a critical piece of city infrastructure, kind of akin to street lights or fire hydrants. I believe, and a lot of people would agree with me, that those are really important aspects of city infrastructure. So making people aware of that this afternoon at the Earth Day celebration downtown. And then next week is Arbor Day, of course. I'll be hosting an event at the community center at 10 o'clock. We're going to plant a tree. We'll read the proclamation and gather for light refreshments in the community center. And then I'll be going off to the school districts and meeting with some students and planting some trees at the schools. So that'll be good, and getting some young people on board with tree planting. There's also a tree walk at noon on the 29th here at LCSC campus. We're going to be looking at some of the diversity on LCSC campus in their arboretum, including the 40-some trees we've been able to plant over the last couple of weeks. So that's another exciting aspect of of Arbor Day this year. So it's a busy time in my program. I've been kind of stretched a little thin, but I like it. I like doing what I do. It keeps me occupied, keeps me engaged.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. That's
really
primarily, getting out there and just being with the community and being with the people. That's really rewarding. So.
And so, speaking of the community, what advice can you give to community members who for caring for their trees, and what can they do?
So there's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. So I think getting trees planted, getting them in the ground so that we can start building our urban canopy and replacing the older trees that were planted by our predecessors. So that's just get the city planted up. That's my biggest priority. And when it comes to caring for existing trees, I always look at removal as kind of a last resort. It's really easy just to say, oh, we'll cut it down. Well, it takes a tree a long time to grow. So once you cut it down, it's gone forever. So when you're caring for a tree, it's important to start your care when the tree is young. Make sure you're pruning for proper form. Make sure that you planted the right tree for the right place to avoid future conflicts. And then when it comes to doing major tree work, if it's in the city right of way, you do need a permit for that. They're free. You can just come get one at my office. And if you're getting large tree work done, like big pruning jobs or big removals, I always insist that people go to a qualified tree care company, not just some guy with a pickup truck, a chainsaw, and a ladder. There are all too many of those in the area, and they might be able to do some good work for you, but they need to be licensed with the city. And that licensing program is something that I assist with. And if you need a list of qualified tree care professionals, I maintain that list in my office. Just give me a call, and I'll let you know who is on the list and who is qualified to care for trees in our community.
And you mentioned your office, and how do people contact you? Where is your office located?
So my office is at the Normal Hill Cemetery. I share in some of the cemetery duties as well. As a parks technician, we're a team, so we all kind of share the responsibility. 1122 7th Street is where you can find me. My phone number is on the city website, and I carry my phone with me all the time, so you can go ahead and get a hold of me that way. If you have any sort of questions, I'm willing to throw in my 2 cents. I like to make myself available to the community, and that's one way that I do that. So I like to consider myself pretty approachable, and if you want to talk trees, we can certainly have a chat.
Well, and you mentioned before too, encouraging people to choose the right tree for the area, and kind of, do you have resources at your office and your disposal that people can just access and
Absolutely,
kind of
yeah.
get that background, so you don't just randomly go to buy a random tree that you think looks nice but might not really fit the environment here very well?
Exactly, yeah. My predecessor developed a tree selection guide that's actually available on the city website, and I have a copy of that in my office. Of course, it probably needs a little bit of updating to reflect new developments in the horticultural trade, and I'll be probably working over that over the coming months. So when it comes to planting trees, I'm always willing to offer suggestions. I've got a number of favorite trees that I enjoy. When I see them, I always go for diversity, of course. It's not about just oaks and maples anymore. I mean, you've got Persian ironwood, you've got Macchia and Tupelo and a bunch of obscure species that do really well in our area but are underutilized and could really bring some much needed diversity to Lewiston's urban forest.
Are those easy to get a hold of in our area, or is it kind of difficult?
Availability is always kind of an issue, and the nurseries tend to stock what sells well. But if you work with the nursery owners, especially this time of year or earlier in the spring, when they're making their big tree orders, you can always special order obscure stuff. And there are some nurseries, especially out of Oregon, that carry really high quality nursery stock that's generally made available this time of year in the garden centers in the LC Valley.
Well, Riley, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to be here.
And on behalf of our guest Riley, myself, and everyone else here, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time on City Beat.